My name is Alan Gale, the second son of a minor noble family with barely more status than commoners. For 3 years, I was treated as free labor, performing tasks even servants would be paid for. Today was Selection Day, where the kingdom chooses noble sons to claim dangerous frontier land. The powerful families needed a fall guy for an island crawling with dark creatures and death mist. Since I had no money for bribes, I negotiated 10 silver coins and a longbow to act as their sacrificial lamb. As the bridge dropped, the crowd booed me, sensing I was nothing more than a corpse to be. The moment the death mist touched my skin, a chime echoed in my head, signaling the awakening of my system. I had possessed the Universal Enhancement System for 3 years, but only now did it begin to gather energy. I spent my first point on bow firing speed, feeling the draw weight of my weapon lighten instantly. Through the mist, my system highlighted the health bars of 10 skeleton soldiers lurking in the dark. My first arrow punched through a skull, shattering the green soul flame and granting me an energy point. Outside, the crowd fell silent as the screaming on the island ceased and the mist began to clear. The magistrate was speechless. Instead of failing, I had claimed the final pioneer charter. However, my victory was bitter, as my assigned territory was the infamous Desert of Death. The other noble sons laughed, knowing that the desert was a lawless wasteland full of hostile tribes. I accepted my reward gear: a workhorse, a leather vest, a longsword, and a round iron shield. With 10 energy points from the skeletons, I dumped everything into my constitution, feeling my body transform. After years of failure, a faint red glow finally flickered across my palm, the mark of battle aura. I returned home to confront my stepmother, Mary, using my new power and status to demand resources. Mary was furious, but she couldn't ignore the threat of me pressing a claim on the family's farm. I bluffed her into giving me 4 gold coins and the contracts for 2 servants, Thomas and Caroline. Before leaving, I said goodbye to Lilia, the only person in the castle who had ever been kind to me. I gave the castle steward gold to pay for her education, promising her I would build a castle for us both. I rode out of the castle gates, followed by my new servants, heading toward the southern border. At the border city of Sandgate, I learned that a bounty was placed on any Falcon Kingdom pioneer lord. I realized I had to hide my identity and build my power in secret to survive the desert's politics. My maid Caroline was constant with her complaints, still acting like she was in a noble estate. I decided to use her as bait to draw out the local thugs and claim my first territory. I staged a public falling out, handing Caroline her contract and telling her she was free to go. As I expected, a group of slave traders followed her into the desert immediately. I followed them using my system's mini-map, tracking their deep red hostile dots across the dunes. 5 days later, I found their settlement and prepared to strike while they celebrated. My arrows found their marks in the dark, taking down the thugs before they could reach their weapons. I confronted the leader, Lancer, and punched through his wooden door with my enhanced strength. I ended his life and rescued Caroline, who was curled in the corner in terror. By morning, I had hung the bandits from poles as a message to the neighboring settlements. I declared the settlement mine and renamed it Babylon, the foundation of my future empire. I showed the charter to Thomas, securing his loyalty as the first steward of my domain. As for Caroline, I accepted her back, but only after she agreed to accept my daily punishments for her past disloyalty. The journey was just beginning, and the Desert of Death would soon know the name of Alan Gale. The scorching winds of the Desert of Death whipped against Alan's face as he reached the border of his new domain. Before him lay a crumbling fortress, a remnant of a settlement long abandoned to the shifting sands. The air hung heavy with the scent of rot and the lingering presence of low-life bandits who had claimed the ruins. A group of ragged men emerged from the shadows, led by a scarred brute, wielding a heavy rusted axe. Leora stepped forward from behind Alan, her hand resting firmly on the hilt of her hidden blade. Alan didn't waste words, simply raising his hand as the universal enhancement system flickered into his vision. He commanded the system to analyze the hostile energy signatures within the perimeter. With a flick of his wrist, Alan released a wave of bone-absorbing energy that surged toward the attackers. The bandit leader's axe crumbled into gray dust before the energy even touched his chest. Screams echoed through the ruins as the bandits were thrown backward by the sheer pressure of Alan's presence. Within minutes, the corruption of the previous occupiers had been physically and magically purged. Leora watched him with wide eyes, realizing that her new master was far more dangerous than the rumors suggested. Alan ignored her gaze, turning his attention to the dry, cracked earth beneath his boots. A prompt appeared, informing him that the soil held dormant energy that could be revitalized. He spent his first batch of energy points to activate the territory purification skill. Ripples of golden light spread out from his feet, turning the gray dust into rich, dark loam. Leora gasped as a small sprout of green broke through the surface of the once dead earth. Alan ordered her to gather the remaining survivors and set them to work on the newly fertile fields. She hesitated for a moment, but a single cold look from Alan sent her scurrying to fulfill his commands. Alan sat upon a stone throne in the main hall, opening the management submenu of his system. He noticed that for every acre of land restored, his passive energy generation increased by 10 points per hour. This wasn't just survival, this was a machine that would feed itself as it grew. Over the next few days, the fortress began to hum with the sound of reconstruction and agricultural labor. Leora approached him on the 5th night, her face smudged with dirt, but her posture more humble. She reported that the crops were growing at 5 times the normal rate, a phenomenon she couldn't explain. Alan simply nodded, aware that his accelerated growth buff was active over the entire domain. However, the sudden prosperity of the oasis had begun to attract unwanted attention from the deeper desert. The system pinged a warning. A group of elite scouts from a rival territory was approaching. Alan stood up, his cloak billowing behind him as he checked the drawstring of his longbow. Leora drew her daggers, positioning herself as a shield between him and the door. He told her to stay back, for he wanted to test a new defensive system he had recently purchased. He focused his mind on the bone sentry towers he had placed at the 4 corners of the wall. As the scouts entered the kill zone, the towers erupted with bolts of condensed necrotic energy. The screams of the scouts were short-lived as they were vaporized before they could even draw their swords. Alan watched the energy-absorbed notifications flood his screen as the scouts' life force was reclaimed. Among the remains of the scouts, the system detected a strange, pulsating artifact. He walked out into the cold night air to retrieve the object himself, Leora following closely behind. As he touched the crystal, a holographic message began to play, projecting the image of a massive armored man. The figure spoke of a coming storm and a tribute that every new domain lord must pay to the Great Khan. Alan crushed the crystal in his hand, the red light fading into nothingness as he looked toward the horizon. Just as he turned to leave, the ground began to tremble violently beneath his feet. A massive, multi-legged shadow began to emerge from the sand, far larger than any beast they had encountered. Leora yelled for Alan to run, but he remained rooted to the spot, his eyes glowing brighter than ever. The system interface flashed a new unknown notification. Hidden boss triggered, the Guardian of the Waste. As a deafening roar shook the very foundation of his fortress, Alan realized the Desert of Death had one final test for its new king. The ground beneath the fortress shuddered as a massive sand-burrowing behemoth breached the outer perimeter. Alan stood atop the battlements, his eyes glowing with the cold light of the Universal Enhancement System. With a swift motion, he summoned a rain of spectral arrows that illuminated the dusty horizon. The arrows found their mark, pinning the beast to the scorched earth with explosive force. From the dust cloud emerged N.A. Bristlemany, the savage warlord of the northern dunes, leading a column of raiders. Na Bristlemane roared a challenge that echoed against the canyon walls, demanding Alan surrender his oasis. Alan didn't offer a single word of negotiation, only a smirk that promised total annihilation. The rival army charged, their war cries drowned out by the sudden mechanical hum of Alan's upgraded defenses. He activated the bone-devouring array, causing skeletal hands to erupt from the sand beneath the invaders. Panic spread through Na Bristlemany's ranks as his elite guards were dragged into the depths of the desert. Enraged by the trickery, Na Bristlemane leaped forward, his heavy blade glowing with a destructive red aura. Alan stepped off the battlement, descending through the air like a fallen angel of death. Their blades clashed in a shockwave that sent a ring of sand rippling across the entire domain. Alan noticed the slight tremor in the warlord's grip, a sign that his enhanced strength was already overwhelming the brute. With a twist of his wrist, Alan parried the heavy blow and drove a mana-infused palm into Na's chest. The warlord flew backward, crashing into a stone pillar that crumbled under his weight. System notifications flooded Alan's vision, confirming the successful absorption of the warlord's fighting spirit. Standing over his fallen foe, Alan declared that the era of banditry in the Desert of Death was officially over. Instead of taking Na's life, he offered him a choice: serve the new king or perish in the shifting sands. Battered and broken, the proud warlord bowed his head, pledging his remaining forces to Alan's cause. In the aftermath, a strange whimpering sound led Alan to a hidden crate within the raiders' caravan. Inside lay two magic beast cubs, offspring of the legendary solar griffin, glowing with celestial energy. Recognizing their potential as guardians, Alan used his system to bond with the creatures instantly. With the warlord's manpower and these new beast allies, his small oasis began its transformation into a true city-state. Word of Alan's victory reached the merchant guilds of the Eastern Kingdoms, sparking interest in this new trade hub. A delegation arrived within weeks, led by a shrewd diplomat seeking to secure safe passage through the wasteland. Alan sat at the head of a massive stone table, dictating terms that would make his territory the wealthiest in the region. The alliance was sealed with a magical contract, ensuring that no army could cross his lands without paying a heavy toll. To ensure the safety of his people, he used his accumulated energy points to construct a massive dome of defensive mana. The barren sands within the dome began to turn green as the system automated the irrigation and fertilization processes. From his high balcony, Alan watched as the first caravan of the new alliance entered the city gates. He knew his father and brothers would soon hear of his success, and they would surely come to claim what he had built. His headstrong maid, now his chief administrator, approached him with reports of the city's rapidly growing population. "Let them come," Alan whispered to the wind, "for they will find only a fortress of bone and blood." The two griffin cubs, now grown to the size of wolves, landed beside him, their wings stirring the air. The once sacrificed son had become the undisputed sovereign of the most dangerous land on the continent. Every rival had been crushed, every resource had been claimed, and the desert had finally submitted to its new master. Alan looked at his hand, where the system interface hummed with the power of 1,000 conquered souls. His journey of vengeance was complete, replaced by the heavy yet rewarding crown of a true emperor. As the sun set over his kingdom, the bone absorber finally found the sanctuary he had been denied all his life.